Star Trek Enterprise debuted on September 26, 2001, only a few weeks after 9/11. Oddly enough, I actually started my journey of Enterprise on the exact date, just 19 years later. Going into this show, I have heard a lot of mixed reviews about this show, so I wasn't too sure what to expect. Before we get any further into this discussion, there will be heavy spoilers for Enterprise and possibly other Star Trek shows if you're not up to date. Even with all the behind the scenes issues for the show, I can confidently say that Enterprise is a really good show and it is a welcomed addition to the Star Trek lore and saga of all the shows. It is sad that the show never really felt like it had a true home since it aired on the UPN network, which was a failing disaster at the time, and it was actually the precursor to the WB and CBS coming together to create the CW channel. By the end of the show's run, the budget was actually slashed in half, going from $1.7 million an episode for the first 3 seasons to only $800,000 for the final season. This show also joined Star Trek the Original Series as one of the shortest running Star Trek shows ever. It is unjustly so though. Enterprise truly did not deserve to get canceled when it did, and to make it worse, it was canceled on episode 98, which is just under the 100 episode threshold to make shows a little bit easier for syndication. Therefore, that is the reason why you do not see this show on too many other channels like you do with TNG and DS9 or Voyager. You see those shows on various channels throughout the years, and that is why you don't see Enterprise pretty much on anything. This show deserved to receive the 7-season treatment just like the other Star Trek shows that came before it during that era. I would argue that the writing and overall story is tighter and played out better than Voyager's was. Don't get me wrong, I really do enjoy Voyager, but Voyager had some of the worst episodes in Star Trek history, along with some of the best. Enterprise rode that steady line of never being horrible and never really being amazing. It was consistent and provided for some really great stories, plain and simple. And I can easily say that Enterprise is head and shoulders above Discovery. Everything that Discovery struggles with, Enterprise does well, from storytelling to developing characters, and just the overall feel of the universe. It's been a long road getting from there to here, and I think it's time to actually talk about some of the events on the show and some of the notable characters. The show, of course, is focused around Enterprise NX-01. It is the first Starfleet vessel to have Warp 5 capabilities. The ship is led by Captain Jonathan Archer and is accompanied by a solid crew, which involves Charles Tucker III, aka Trip, as his chief engineer, Commander T'Pol, previously sub-commander, as his science officer, Ensign Travis Mayweather as his helm officer, Lieutenant Malcolm Reed as his tactical officer, and Ensign Hoshi Sato as the ship's comm officer. Archer's father is actually the one who developed the Warp 5 engine, and that is one of the many reasons Archer wants command of the ship, along with being the first humans to go into deep space. Other than the temporal Cold War storyline throughout the first few seasons, the first 2 seasons felt very similar to the original series, being very episodic and going on new adventures each week, which was honestly a good way to get to know the characters and what Enterprise was going to feel like as a show. Going into season 3, the Xindi attacked Earth and killed over 7 million people. This sets up a season-long arc for Archer and the crew to find the Xindi home world and stop them from destroying Earth. The season-long arc was really solid and was a really fun story to see unfold. Season 4 seemed to slightly revert back to the earlier seasons, but with a little more heft to them, since you could feel the roots of the Federation ever so slowly growing throughout the series' run. It is not shown on the show, but by the end of the show's run, the Federation is pretty much in its infancy thanks to Archer and his crew, who helped the Vulcans, humans, Tellarites, Andorians, and a few other species come together and sign a peace charter to start the foundation of the Federation. I'll be completely honest, the finale for the show, if you can even call it that, kind of gutted me. First off, the idea for the final episode was a cool one. I'll give it that. It would have made a good episode if it wasn't the series finale, but to have a series finale pretty much told to us by Commander Riker was a bit of an insult, I'm not gonna lie. It is not satisfying to see the characters we have spent 4 seasons with handled like this through a holodeck program. What makes it even worse is the holodeck program represents the final mission for the NX Enterprise. So we pretty much missed 6 years of stories because the final holodeck mission takes place 10 years after the start of the series. It is just frustrating saying goodbye to these characters in such an abrupt way, and to make it worse, it really wasn't even set in the reality of Star Trek. It was just a holodeck simulation. Like, why do this to an audience for a finale of a show? And to make matters even worse, they kill off Trip in the final episode. That pissed me off. Hell, I'm still pissed about it right now. Trip was my favorite character on Enterprise, and there was really no reason to kill off Trip in that episode. Look, I get he sacrificed himself to save Captain Archer, but it doesn't make it any less annoying. They didn't even need to write the Strand storyline into this episode, which was just pretty much added to give a reason for Trip's death. It is just plain dumb, if you ask me. For such a strong show, for it to end like that is just a real punch in the gut. I guess you can consider the episode before it as the true real finale to Enterprise, but that really isn't much better. It is just as incredibly sad. Trip and T'Pol's baby dies in that episode. Like, Jesus, poor Trip really could never catch a break. Oh yeah, and top of that, Trip also had to watch T'Pol marry another man right in front of him. Poor Trip, man, he had to go through the ringer and he just dies at the end. Even with the show's subpar finale, it is utterly sad that this show is not talked about more among Star Trek fans and Star Trek events. It is just as worthy as the other Star Trek shows of that time. It was honestly a great addition to the fantastic Trek era that ran from 1987 to 2005. There is no doubt in my mind that this show has gotten the short end of the stick and is forgotten about way too much and needs to be celebrated along with the other shows. Enterprise is underrated and overlooked, and it is a damn shame. I wish it could have gotten a longer run, but out of the 4 seasons that we got, I got to experience a whole new crew and an enjoyable one at that. And it was even nice to get some new favorite characters out of the show, such as Trip, Archer, Phlox, and T'Pol. Oh, I almost forgot Porthos was a great member of the NX crew too. So with all this said, do you think Enterprise is underrated and overlooked? Let me know down in the comments. And while you're down there, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, that'd be greatly appreciated. I know this video doesn't go in super in-depth mode when it comes to Enterprise, but I just wanted to hit the surface areas of it. I pretty much just wanted to bring focus to the show and pretty much say that this show should be talked about with the likes of TNG and DS9 and Voyager, because it is that good in my opinion. It holds right there with them, and it's sad that it got canceled so early and how it's been treated ever since then. Like, it's the black sheep of the family, and it shouldn't be treated that way at all. It is just as good as those other shows. It needs to start being talked about that way, and I'm just trying to bring a little recognition to a very good, solid Star Trek show, especially in light of the new Star Trek stuff we've been getting. Enterprise is amazing compared to Picard and Discovery. So if you're hating those newer Star Treks and you've never watched Enterprise, I'm telling you, go back and watch Enterprise. It is worth the watch. Even with the subpar ending, you'll still enjoy the ride, and it's a hell of a show. I guarantee you will enjoy it because it feels like Star Trek, and it feels like it connects to the other 3 shows before, technically, if you count the original series. But you know, that main run from 87 to 05, you'd really enjoy it because it really does feel like they're all connected in some way or another. But I think I'm done rambling about Star Trek Enterprise for the day. So until next time, guys, everyone have a great day. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one.